Like an aging football veteran toward the end of his career, Stugotz limps in here today and says, I'm going to give it a go. He has had some mouth repairs that have long been overdue. I saw him Googling, how do you smoke cigarettes after you what? After you have like something excavated?
After you have a tooth extracted, how do you smoke to avoid dry pockets? The only way to do it is through your nose.
Dry pockets or dry sockets?
Sockets, pockets, I don't know. I'm all hopped up on meds today, Dano.
Okay, that should be fun.
Yeah.
Jessica's back from Ireland.
Hi.
She says that she has 4 hours, a full show of material for you on just Ireland stuff. The look on Billy's face regarding that says it all.
It's not regarding that. It just.
Well, you were drifting off.
Because you don't smoke after you had 2 teeth taken out is the answer. Like that's what you do. You don't.
Right. I did it.
Yeah.
I draw the line at smoking out of my nose, Billy, okay?
I think you can smoke through your butt.
What?
I was thinking about it.
What? What do you mean you think you can smoke through your butt?
I think that's a thing.
That's not a thing. Go sit in the penalty box.
What?
It is a thing. I'll back him up on that.
You go sit with him. What do you mean it's a
You
thing?
can pretty much do anything with your butt.
You can butt chug. Why not butt smoke?
Guys, Izzy is gone. Let's clean it up.
Amin is flying in an emergency. He is flying in
Whoa!
because
Foam roller.
Stugotz, the foam roller, got
Foam
you
roller.
again.
That was Billy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Billy. That was yesterday. You weren't here, Jessica. He is. That is a callback. Billy has been very good the last couple of days of just making stinkers of jokes at the very start of the show and getting kicked out of the show. But Amin is flying in because Stugotz doesn't know if he's going to make it. Juju is here. That's always exciting. It always makes us happy when Juju arrives. And Lucy is a crazy person about college football. Like, she's not reasonable. She's not sane. Everything that happens in college football is the most awesome of things that has ever happened.
Even week 0. I mean,
All of it.
Week 0 was great. She's right, by the way. You guys are all not college football fans, so that's why you don't
That's not true at all.
What do you mean?
That's not
That's
true.
why you don't appreciate the finer things in life. Week 0 is just merely a little appetizer for the main course.
You listen to me. Week 0, I was 1-3 headed into the Hawaii game. I took the Rainbows. I doubled down. I won all my money back. How about that? Don't tell me I don't love college football.
Well,
all
who were the 3 that you lost? You
I don't know.
Okay.
UTEP, someone else. I forget.
So
They were bad games.
So you made.
They were not bad games. They were great games.
I had Navy.
I saw FIU.
You had Navy?
Yeah.
What?
I did.
Notre Dame is like 146-14 against Navy in Ireland or something like that over the last 3 matches.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The armed
Not a great
services,
bet.
we really do need to update the offenses. Come on, guys.
They can compete.
No, come on. They can't compete that way.
You saw like that was them competing.
No, that wasn't them competing. It's jarring when you're watching a college football game to see that kind of size and strength advantage where it's just obvious on the first 3 drives, oh, they're just going to get cement mixered. Like, they're not going to be able to get into the backfield. They're just going to it's going to be like seeing a field plowed.
It was great talking to a lot of the Irish locals and people that went to the game that had not watched college football before, because they pretty much all said the same thing, which was, this game's way too slow for us. Like, we can't watch this. There's way too much stoppage, and we don't really get it. And I'm like, trust me, you're right. There's a lot of slow stoppage time in college football, but you're watching one team that plays like they played football 80 years ago versus a team with a modern offense. This is not really what every game's like. Just give it a chance.
But every game is. This is a hard thing to explain internationally when you go around and tell people, yeah, there's actually about 9 minutes of total action in the next 3 hours or 2.5 hours that you're spending here. That there is a lot of explaining that to others. It's been baked in with us. We've gotten used to it all our lives, and obviously it's the insanity and the passion that it is. But when you take it overseas and people keep seeing, they don't understand why they're huddling, first of all, because they're learning football, and then they see 9 minutes of total action. That's not exactly the way to do it with the attention deficit disorder that we're presently feeding with our distractions and the need for stimuli at all turns.
There's also, they changed the rules this year, which I hate, which now the clock doesn't stop after a first down in college football except the final 2 minutes of each half, which was something that was unique to college football that I think allowed for a lot of possession, especially towards the end of halves, which led to some very crazy games, in my opinion. And so they sped it up now. But in the first, 15 minutes of this game, there were like 3 2.5-minute television timeouts. I was going crazy. I was like, oh, it's finally here. There's kickoff. Notre Dame's
it's
driving,
moving too slowly
and
for
then
you.
all of a sudden, oh, nope, guy with the red hat's out there. Guy with the red hat, he's out there again. Oh, he's still out there. This guy with the red hat was out there more than Sam Hartman. It was a lot.
Dan, you say Navy has to upgrade the offense, and you're right, but Army has. Like Army in the last few years, they have upgraded and adapted to 2023. I'm serious.
Not really.
No, Dan, they had last year they had games in which they scored 44 points, 34 points, 45 points.
You can score a lot running any kind of offense you execute.
No, it was a throwing attack. I'm telling you.
Billy, what are you laughing about?
I just like the argument. No, I'm serious. I'm telling you. And then you have a room full of college experts.
Well,
like,
look it up.
I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's the move. The look it up move, and then we look it up, and everyone just keeps it moving when he ends up being wrong. But he is now looking it up with one hand.
No, they did move away from the triple option.
Thank you.
Navy is also trying to move away from the triple option. They were trying to come into this game with more of a passing attack. Did not work. Obviously, it's going to take time. Georgia Tech also has tried to move away from the triple option, but what happens when you make these systemic changes, like you aren't, especially at a Naval Academy, you're not able to recruit the offensive line that you need to be able to sit back and pass the football, and probably not a
You're not able to
passing
recruit
quarterback
the
either.
anybody you need.
Years. Yeah, it takes years to make a change like
but
that.
But in order to execute
and
that
it still might not work.
it's going to take several classes to stack for players that are more geared towards that scheme.
It's a pretty terrible thing to inherit if you're at Georgia Tech and Paul Johnson is running for 20 years the offense that is just recruiting players that don't know what to do with Calvin Johnson when he's at Georgia Tech.
I mean, what do you want him to do? He's not exactly in a high school recruiting hotbed like Georgia. Who goes there?
The idea that our greatest football players would sign up for playing in a spread offense in Army and having to risk going to war is why I believe the military doesn't get some of our greatest players. I believe that
but they do get to go to Ireland to play Notre Dame, which is, pretty cool if you ask me. Otherwise, they would never get to leave the country, those people in the Navy.
I offered the spicy fix earlier this week of how they could get the best players, and you guys just rejected it entirely.
Yeah, because it was a terrible idea. Do you want to share it now with Juju and Lucy and Jessica again, even though it was a terrible idea the first time? Do you want to?
Is this they get to draft a player from the winning team if they lose idea?
Correct. That's right. That's how it works.
What's wrong with it?
What's wrong with that?
Yeah, okay.
Do you not want the best and brightest protecting our country and playing football for them as well?
Happy Jim Cantore Day.
Oh, yeah.
It's not going to end well for him, right?
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. It's not going to end well for Jim Cantore, right?
Just if you play with fire so many times.
I would say that even though he is a storm expert, the calculations are changing on everything that's happening
the
right
math
now.
Is changing, some say.
Billy, go sit in the penalty box again.
Oh, man.
Storm surge of 10 to 15 feet is not normal. We are playing basically natural disaster lotto with how hot our oceans are. What is about to hit, or is hitting right now, northern Florida, was when it was around Cuba, a storm, a tropical storm, and very quickly, because the seas are hot tub hot, got to a Category 4, and they weren't saying it was going to be a Category 4. I have gone the entirety of my life, Stugotz, down here. Even with Hurricane Andrew happening, I was never afraid of hurricanes. Never. I've lived here my entire life without fearing hurricanes. But what I'm afraid of now is storm surge and water. It's not the winds anymore. It's the amount of water. Georgia's already flooded and the storm hasn't gotten there. The amount of water that is being taken on is going to really disrupt life and take lives.
I'm watching footage of Cedar Key, I believe it's called, on Twitter right now, and there are houses that are nearly underwater right now. That's where Jim Cantore is. He was there yesterday. He said, I might not be here tomorrow. I wake up this morning, he's still there. Why? Why does Jim Cantore insist on inserting himself and being the story? Like, he's going to die one day. I don't want Jim Cantore to die. I don't want anyone to die. But Jim Cantore one day is going to get caught in one of these keys where the surge is so much, it's on a roof of a house and he'll have nowhere else to stand. Where's he going to stand when the roof is covered? Huh?
This is why Jim Cantore is famous. He's been doing it very well for a very long time. I do think, though, that the nature of storms are about to change because, Stugotz, it's not just that, we're still looking for bodies in Hawaii on fires. There are 2 hurricanes right now around Florida. When you look at it from a satellite, it's horrifying. And I don't know. It sucks the fun, obviously, out of everything that we're doing. But right now in northern Florida, there is a panic from the idea that ocean is just swamping. It's not, when you talk about 10 to 15 feet of storm surge, Stugotz, that's 2 Shaquille O'Neals. Like, people cannot survive that. That is catastrophic. If anyone is in that, that is not something that can be survived. And it seems like we're just playing, as I said before, nature lotto here, that it doesn't matter where you live. Go ahead and try and search. Go ahead and look it up. Places that are safe from fire, from tornadoes, from earthquakes. You're going to find very little, Stugotz, that's safe. And scientists are all telling you, hey, we underestimated this. This is all happening faster than we thought that it was. What's happening in the Arctic, the heating of the earth. And it's all based on our use of fossil fuels. Or like 80%, I think, is the number. It's all the way that we're burning fossil fuels. It's going to take civil unrest, Stugotz. It's going to be civil disobedience and protests.
You thought our military academies running the triple option was antiquated. How about filling our cars with dinosaur bones? Because that's what we're doing right now.
We're all going to die. Stugotz doesn't want any of us to die, but
know.
we're all going to die, except Jim Cantore. Lucy and Jessica Stugotz are just dying to snort college football, and Mike Ryan sort of on the fringes of it with a quarterback who injured his finger on his helmet and playing
Wasn't his helmet.
on a helmet, excuse me.
That'd be weird.
It's a fine.
I'd be really really worried about his follow through if he hurt his thumb on his own helmet.
My bad. Mike Ryan wants to talk about the University of Miami opener on the fringes of college football. Jessica and Lucy are not so college football obsessed that they're interested in this one, are they?
Even I have a line.
Okay.
Well, who is Miami playing?
Miami of Ohio.
Oh, wow. A couple of Miamis cutting it up.
Do we have video there of Miami of Ohio saying that they are the real and true and only Miami? The only thing I know about Miami of Ohio football is Ben Roethlisberger. That's what I do on word association with Miami of Ohio football.
There's a Gabbert there now.
Is there? There's
Yes.
a Gabbert there now. What is the sound that we have here, Mike, of Miami of Ohio telling you that Miami of Florida is no longer?
Their hotshot quarterback who was asked, and this is how you want your hotshot quarterback to answer this question.
I think this plays off the same question, but the real Miami is where? In Coral Gables or here in Oxford?
Oxford, Ohio.
Because you're around longer, you're just...
No, I just think we'll show them September 1st.
That's a leading question. That's a loaded question. There's no personality from the quarterback to a question that was totally loaded.
He didn't even believe that either, by the way. That mullet didn't believe it. Nobody believed you.
The look, is that the hot shot look of a quarterback? Backward cap, mullet. Was it a mullet? It was very flowing long hair. Is it? It is kind of
I don't
mullet-y.
know.
It
I
looks
just know he's
mullet-y.
not on Colin Cowherd's draft board.
Miami of Ohio's offense is ranked 121st in S&P Plus.
Iowa wins a lot of games with an offense that bad, so
They should have beaten Kentucky last year. They're not that bad. I mean, everybody beat Northwestern. But they
At
did
this
beat
point,
Northwestern,
I don't
too.
believe the University of Miami, given some of the games they lost last year, can be in a position where they feel, I don't know what the spread is in that game, but where they can feel very confident that they wouldn't lose to anybody. Because last year, there were a couple of times that they lost to a team like this. And I don't know how you feel about the condition of your program. Mike Ryan, I don't believe... I'm saying this flatly. I do not believe that I have seen a college football reporter in my history covering sports embed himself in a program to get information, and because it's his lifestyle now and people there trust him and he has relationships there, where he is both a football insider but also a hobnobbing mover and shaker booster, shaking hands, making sure that the power people who can pay Cristobal $80 million are people he has relationships with. So this is a part. Mike cares.
Seems like a conflict of interest.
It is.
Yeah.
It's new. It's the new journalism age. It is in every way.
I'm good with it. Yeah.
Well, you always are.
Yep.
With matters
Always have been. Yeah.
of a lack of ethics. It is for him.
I don't have to have ethics. I'm not
Attaboy.
bound to a journalistic entity. I'm media. I'm not a journalist.
Yep.
You are an amorphous thing that exists around this show that has learned journalism but not necessarily have to abide by it right now when we're our own bosses and when you're actually fundraising for the University of Miami.
I know what amorphous means. I don't think my brother Billy knows what amorphous means.
You are found in a position today where you're scared of the opener, excited.
I'm excited for the opener. I'm excited to see this plan out. Last year was as disappointing an experience as I've ever had. There's a lot of renewed energy, a lot of people that look a lot different on that field this year. And for me, it's about expectations, managing them, not getting too high and believing that this is a multi-year plan. So I'm excited to see this program. I think the staff, the players, the boosters, everyone needs a performance on Friday that you can take encouragement from, and I'm hoping that's what happens.
I don't remember who he was talking about, but I heard Mario Cristobal talking about one of the players being muscles on top of muscles, 30 pounds of muscles that that make you understand that at the highest tiers, Stugotz, of minor league football, where young men are physically giant men, you will see physical differences between the very best of what is playing in college football and what Miami was last year, even last year. And they are saying that physically, now I don't know what this means, right? Everyone talks about Isaiah Simmons being a first-round type of talent because he's like Barkevius Mingo. It's just an athlete, an incredible athlete. But I don't know how good he is at football because he hasn't been good at football. He just got traded to the Giants for, what was it, like a seventh round pick. But Miami has more physical athletes than they've had in a minute.
We weren't a very impressive team coming off the bus. I remember a couple of years ago, I was at practice. I'm like, who's that? That's finally, we got a body there. And someone told me, oh, that's a punter. He's from Australia. So that's not really the case this year. Like Mario builds from the inside out, and the offensive line and the defensive line, which a pro scout that I know last year surprised me when he said, arguably the best D-line in the nation. That crap Miami team from last year said arguably in terms of pro prospects, that team last year had one of the most talented D-lines in the country. And I think from a pass rushing perspective, they finished top 10. The D-line has only gotten more and more talented. This guy, Ruben Bain.
They're more talented this year.
Ruben Bain is honestly talked about as he could be like an all-time Kane. And the offensive line looks totally different. There's 3 guys that they brought it, 4 guys if you include the transfer from Alabama in Cohen. They just look a lot different, and there's a lot of reason to be excited because the body types are coming in now that you can kind of see the vision. And if you start stacking classes and the backups start looking like the starters, then you're going somewhere.
They're 17-point favorites at home, by the way, since you asked earlier. 17 points. I think I'm taking the Canes based on what Mike just said.
They were 28.5-point favorites against Middle Tennessee last year.
Look, they're going to – I think they're going to be susceptible to big plays through the air because they're going to play a lot of man. And where I wasn't cool with it last year was they were getting beat on man because there were breakdowns. If you're going to lose a 1v1 matchup because the other guy's better than you, fine. But there was just no cohesion along that secondary. They're going to have one of the more aggressive front sevens. They're going to be able to stop the run. I think from a matchup perspective, there's a mobile quarterback that would like to run. I think that kind of plays into Miami's hands a little bit, but they'll probably get some big chunk plays over the air because we're going to concede that. Running is going to be huge for this. Our number 1 running back is by game 2 probably going to be our number 3 running back this season. And you're going to see a guy like Mark Fletcher or Allen. Mark Fletcher is a load at running back. And he's got the intangibles from leadership. I've spoken to him. He's a bright kid. He is going to be a menace for this team. So there's a lot of reason to get excited. But in terms of my expectations for this season, I think 8 wins, 8-4 is nice. Hopefully they can win a game that they're not supposed to. Hopefully that game is FSU or maybe even next week against Texas A&M. I think 9 wins is great. And then you get to year 3 of the plan, which is compete for a conference, wherever that conference may be. And year 4 with an expanded playoff. Hopefully be in that conversation because your talent level after 4 years of stacking top 10 classes should be good enough to compete for a title.
Juju, Billy, can you guys I don't know if this is happening with your ear. It is happening a little bit with my ear. And keep in mind, I care about the University of Miami program. It's probably the thing in my career that I have cared about the most when just being somebody who grew up at that school. And
you tried to end him with the whole Pell Grant thing.
I didn't do that. That wasn't
allegedly.
That wasn't my doing.
Sorry.
Not
Allegedly.
allegedly.
Thank you, Juju.
Not
Finally,
allegedly.
journalism around
It
here.
was not me. I did not report anything
You got
about
beat on
the
that
Pell,
story. Yeah.
Pell Grants.
That's
Yeah.
a real Mandela effect.
That was Randy Mell. Randy Mell kicked my ass on that story. He knew how to talk to district attorneys. I was 20 years old. I did not know anything about federal aid or why Tony Russell would be in the athletic department doing crack and giving fake loans to people.
DAs.
Salute to Randy.
I was beaten on that story, but I care about the University of Miami program.
How much do you care?
In general?
Because we'd love to have you talk to some folks.
Get
There's
us someone in
different
the
tiers
portal.
of how much you care.
That is correct.
Would you like to have a player show up at your birthday?
We're doing NIL again this year, correct?
No.
Thank God.
No, we're not doing NIL this year. Would you like to? I'm
Yes,
doing NIL
yes,
personally, but
What do you mean,
I
yes?
would like
well,
to.
so last year our our NIL deal came from Highlight. You didn't pony up anything. It was our Highlight team. Well, I don't know if you paid attention to the Highlight season last year. Bit of a loser. A big one. And we decided last year that we were going to give it to Ron McGill's foundation, and we won the occasional Friday night game, and his foundation actually
But yes,
did get some.
the answer to your question is yes, I would like Meadowlark, and I would like us to be associated with the University of Miami football program in a way that aids them financially. Yes.
How about FIU? Billy's calling some of their games. I mean, how about we support the Golden Panthers?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
As soon as I start talking about money, everybody shows up with their hands out.
Well,
That's how
Florida's
that
public
happens.
university.
I'd love to help Miami's women's basketball program. You can really make a difference.
We did that last year.
Yeah, but Destiny Horton took us to an Elite Eight.
If we help Iowa women's basketball program, we could win the Natty.
There you
I-
go.
I
That
wanna-
would be great content.
Shut up, you don't
I
need
want to
the
help Nebraska
I got a big
women's
fish on the line.
Nebraska women's volleyball. I'd like to help. They don't seem to need very much in the way of help.
No, Nebraska women's volleyball is today planning on breaking the record for highest attended women's sporting event in United States history. They're estimating to have 90,000 people
Wow.
at a volleyball game today. It's going to be one of the cooler things we've seen in women's sports and in college sports.
The Huskers.
But the question, not helpful, the question I wanted to ask Juju and Billy is because as Mike navigates all of these conflicts, kind of a journalist, not a journalist, fundraiser, booster, talker on air that can get people and the team and himself in trouble by saying the wrong thing. Do you guys hear some of what he's saying when he talks about like coach speak? That he sounds, got to have a plan, got it week to week, that it sounds like a coach getting out there giving you a weekly press conference. Are you hearing it that way? Because I care about the program and I'm hearing it that way. Yeah. You guys don't care about the program.
I'm hearing that boosters be boosting because my boy be in all the conversations, and he knew Messi was coming. Like, he could do no wrong as far as I'm concerned, but he's definitely the goldenest cane I know. I don't even know any other golden canes.
Billy?
Well said, Juju. I mean, there's definitely a conflict, right? It's hard to deny that that's the case.
What's the conflict, really?
Well, you're paying money for access, and then you're giving the information that they feed you.
I'm not giving you the information that they feed me. I'm not. Like, the conflict.
Well, why not, though?
The conflict in terms of, like, journalistically, like, I'm not going to say everything that I know. I have relationships. And a lot of journalists, by the way, are like that. They don't say
all of the
best ones.
All of them are.
Dan's got great sources, and they trust him implicitly. And Dan hasn't reported the vast majority of the stuff that he knows. For me, reporting as I did on the Cristobal stuff was just to clear up all this misinformation that was out there and to stop bad faith actors from slandering the university. And through getting involved in that, my access, my appreciation for my school, to be the change that I sought, to get involved, to make sure that the last 20 years of my life are not the 20 years that my children have, where this team that has won 5 national championships isn't some goddamn punchline. I got involved, and I care deeply about this. And what you're hearing is coach speak. And, yeah, sure, fine. But on this show, I've gotten a lot of shit for being a homer guy, and I've had a lot of embarrassing years, and I lost Middle Tennessee State last year. So I'm going to temper my expectations, have faith in the program that I'm actively taking a part in, and get this program back to where it needs to be, so help me God.
But, Mike, you realize it seems I don't care. I do not care, but other people do. You come off as a mouthpiece for the University of Miami.
I am a mouthpiece because
hold on a
I'm
second.
actively in it.
No, I know, but people question whether or not you're going to criticize Cristobal when he needs to be criticized.
Was there not enough criticism last year?
No, are you personally, Mike, if they don't make a 12-team playoff, are you going to be the guy that says he needs to be fired?
Yeah, it needs to
Hang
work.
on. Let's make a bowl
Come
game
on,
first.
like we're several years down the line.
Too
but
fast?
There was nothing about last year in which I was reserved. I was openly frustrated by it, but it did strengthen my revolt, and I got more active. I'm sorry, and I got more actively involved in the program to help change what happened last year.
But that's where the journalism line is crossed.
But I'm not a journalist. I'm
But you're being touted as a college reporter. But
By
you're
Dan,
giving them
I can't-
money.
I can't
Wait a minute. His information on Messi and Cristobal was 100%. Like what I'm saying, he was telling our audience more than any reporter covering anything, nationally or locally. He was telling our audience that he's got the receipts. Everything he said was true. Like
and much like the Cristobal thing, my approach on Messi was to clear up misinformation because there was a lot of bad reporting out there. I'm not going to come out and I don't care about the shine of breaking a story. Like, it'll happen if it happens throughout the course of the thing. But I'm not a journalist.
It's this, Stugotz, and you've heard me talk a lot about this, okay? Lord knows the audience is sick of hearing me talk about journalism. You've heard me recently talk about how Woj and Schefter, the best of the best, how they're compromised. You've seen publicly the stories come out. Oh, the conflicts were just hidden. They weren't managing them well. They were conflicted. They're in business with the NBA and ESPN. It's a partnership for everybody. Everybody's got bosses, corporates in charge. And so the very best of the best are concealed but compromised. Mike's telling you, here's where I'm compromised. And his information is more solid than any of the information that we've gotten. Journalism, if it's not dead, you've heard me talk just this week about the appalling thing happening to local newspapers, Stugotz, that's making this city the most corrupt one I've ever lived in. And that's saying something from Miami, because there are no checks and balances. There are no resources to protect us, to protect the people from government people being shit. All of journalism is compromised. We've got a guy here who is totally and completely a mouthpiece for the University of Miami, whose information is better on the University of Miami than anyone who's ever covered the University of Miami.
But he's not a journalist.
And that comes from the guy who broke the Pell Grant story. our college football insider said one of the most pathetic things I've ever heard from an insider before the show today when he said, as if it was sourced and loaded with information, quote, "There's a notion around the ACC
Syracuse is talking.
that FSU is going to blow out LSU this weekend because week zero had some crud that you can just, I believe.
Your opinion.
Agreed. That's what this show revolves around. You went to Ireland, and the first week, I believe, all of us who were watching college football elevated everything the weekend was because we missed football in general so very much.
You didn't watch the ending of UTEP Jacksonville State. It was awesome.
A dizzy.
Boom.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a lane for you. Just everything in college football is awesome. Any single thing that happens, she gets deliriously happy about.
Don't you miss viewing sports through that prism, though? Like, I'm envious of Lucy. Like, I wish that I could still be happy.
But
Just in general.
But she's talking about college football outside of her Iowa experience. To call her happy during some Iowa games might be a bridge too far.
We have a great punting battle coming up this weekend, so I don't know what you're talking about. I'm excited.
I did think to myself, people in Iowa have to hurt in their soul a little bit when all that comes out of a press conference is Kirk Ferentz liking the other team's punter and everyone laughing at the idea of Iowa is only good at 9-6 games.
He also said his favorite game he ever coached was Iowa winning 6-4.
Not surprising.
6-4 the hard way, by the way.
Yep. Couple of safeties, huh?
What is the hard way to 6 points?
They know. They know what they did.
Billy, speaking of which, when you say that you have some envy, I've told you a number of times this year, weirdly, that I enjoy watching the Rays. They're great at home runs. They're great at running the bases, defense. They're great at everything. And they come in here and they drag the Marlins. They're a good deal better than the Marlins. Are the Marlins now done?
You know, yesterday we were talking about whether or not they were done. I said I wasn't ready to announce that they were officially done. And then they lost 11-2 to the Rays. And I'm going to tell you what, Dan, they're 500 now. They were 14 games over 500 before the All-Star break. Now, obviously, they've played 14 games below 500 to get back to 500. I'm still not ready to say that they're done yet. Still not ready to say that they're done. The Angels decided to release everyone on their roster yesterday for some reason, like a sore loser in a fantasy league, and now those players are up for grabs for any team that wants them. So who knows?
It is hard. You may have noticed over the years of doing this show that Billy is a temperamental spirit, and you never know what it is that he is going to latch on with his talons and get super excited about.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean?
Today, I'll tell you what I mean right now. Today, Billy comes in, and he seemed unreasonably unhinged. He's mad, I did not expect this, at the Angels.
He should be.
Okay, but out of nowhere, the thing that summons... Look,
they're bad for the game of baseball.
He just told you he's joyless. He misses a time in sports where he cared like that.
In life.
And he in life in general.
Has nothing to do with sports.
Look, Billy, look, let me explain something to you. Fatherhood has battered Billy.
And so is God bless football.
Would you say more so?
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show.
Off mic, he just went,
what has battered Billy's life more?
Source, Mike Ryan.
A source around this show.
There's a notion around the ACC that Billy has been battered by God bless football. Put it on the poll, Juju, at Le Batard Show. What has been worse for Billy's life? Fatherhood or God bless football?
It's not fatherhood. It's the greatest gift in the world.
Yeah,
man.
I understand.
I love my
but
children.
what it has done, Billy only has about so much energy to expend. So if he's watching a fielder's choice in the 8th inning of a Marlins game because he cares about a season because it started better than any since they won the World Series with that first team, because there was a reason for enthusiasm about what the Marlins were doing, then they go all in on the trades. They go all in. And now they want more players because, Stugotz, everybody has a chance in the National League because only the Braves and Dodgers are good. Everybody else is the Phillies, but the Phillies are better than the Marlins. The Marlins this year have been the Mets and the Nationals.
I mean, the Phillies are 16 games above 500. The Marlins are 500. Phillies are good.
No, what I am saying to you is all year long, what has been happening in the Marlins on the field, they've been a bit of a mirage. Their run differential is not very good. When you look at the Nationals and the Mets, they are not a lot worse than the Marlins. They're not, empirically, as a team. They are in the standings, but they're not a lot different as a quality of team.
The Mets are minus 41. The Marlins are minus 57.
And the Nationals are minus 95.
Okay, but I'm just saying, whatever the difference is, the Nationals just came in here and ended your season. They just came in here and did that.
The difference is that they had a very good record in one-run games, and had they had 500 in one-run games at one point, then the record would be completely different, and things caught up to them eventually. And their pitching depth wasn't as deep as we thought it was. Now they're doing bullpen games every fifth game, which isn't what you anticipated.
But I like their bullpen. I've liked their bullpen all season.
They've been fine, but then the closer started blowing games, and things just started catching up to the Marlins. Look, they're going to have a much better season than they had last year. No one thought that coming into August they'd still be in playoff contention. So, overall, I'd say the season has been a success, especially under a new manager. It's just kind of a disappointing end to what was maybe a bit of a mirage earlier in the season.
But you had no expectations really for this team until they started winning the one-run games, and you saw that the rest of the league was obviously weak, which keeps everybody in contention.
Well, I mean, also we're in a tough division in that the Braves are the best team in baseball, and they're just running through absolutely everyone. Their offense is insane. Their pitching's good. There's no catching up to the Braves. So you're always going to be playing for a wild card spot anyways. You just can't keep up with the Braves. And the Braves are going to be good unless they somehow mess things up and through injuries for a long time.
You said this season was a successful season for the Marlins. When Giannis Antetokounmpo said it was a successful season and they got eliminated in the playoffs,
that's right.
Y'all jumped on his back.
That's
What's
right.
going on here?
Yeah, but the expectations were for him to win a championship. I mean, the Marlins had no expectations.
Very encouraged.
Zero.
I'd be very encouraged. They know how to build a team with the new rules. I mean, there's plenty of reason to get excited.
I'm with Juju on this, though. I believe that Juju should have a superhero or a pass to call anybody on the show when he hears it, because he's got a big database of all the stuff that we've talked about. He remembers better than most around here what people have said. And I believe that you should be able to, whenever you want, descend with a hypocrite alert, because that is entirely true, what he just said.
That is not how I took that at all. I took that as Juju saying that I'm on the same level as Giannis.
Alert.
A alert. That's right. A Juju alert, where you get carte blanche to call anybody on the show a hypocrite because of their conflicting sports biases. Because this show did rip. Look at what we're celebrating around here. Hey, the Marlins are 500. The season's a success. They lost as much as they won.
How often are they around 500 in September? And they were supposed to be doormats in this division.
Not
this
very
division
often.
was supposed to be stacked.
Yes.
They're considerably better than the New York Mets with limited resources. I think there's plenty of reason to be encouraged about the future.
Last year they were 69 and 93. The only way they do worse is if the rest of the season they only win 2 games.
Nice.
Can I get ahead of this? I'm a hypocrite. I'm just going to say that.
I like that.
Same here.
I like that.
Fire away, Juju.
Doesn't bother me,
You
it's
just took Juju's
It's a compliment.
segment.
I mean,
it had imaging. He was going to parachute in. You just nuked it by just conceding that we all are, that everyone talking at microphones is
I
compromised.
didn't say you were, Dan. You got my ass earlier this segment, all right? I see you. I'm just saying, me and Stugotz, we know what we are.
Thank you.
I think I'm clean.
Clean.
Of course, you are right. The season is a success because they should have been. Look, the Nationals won a World Series recently. The Braves and Phillies are considerably better and were considered before the season considerably better. And the Mets, I said this the other day,
Are a disaster.
Yeah, they're a disaster.
Yep.
But if you just take what they're paying former players now, former players, that would be the 17th highest payroll in the league. Just the guys that they are still paying who no longer play for them. All 4 of those teams should have been much better than the Marlins. And we've been able to talk and care about the Marlins all season. That is a success. It is. That's indisputably a success.
And they're only 3 out in the wild card. They still have a chance here. We're acting like the season's over.
That's what I'm
I
saying.
mean, there is hope.
How many teams do they have to climb?
Well, don't pay attention.
2
to
or
that.
3 teams.
Yeah.
Billy, you're right there.
Exactly. Billy Epler, by the way, can we talk about him for a second? The general manager of the Mets. That guy's a disaster. An absolute disaster. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. He's a mess, and he was a mess when he was with the Angels, which takes us back to the Angels, because he came to New York from the Angels, who has wasted Mike Trout. They've wasted Shohei Ohtani. They traded their top 2 prospects to get pitchers that they've then just released. Well, they haven't released, but they put them on waivers. They're going to lose
the pitcher they got
Lucas
to
Giolito.
to keep Ohtani.
Yes,
they just released him
The
yesterday.
moves that they made to try to convince Shohei Ohtani to stay, they said, you know what? It's not going to work out. We're just going to put 6 or 7 people on waivers, and anyone can have them for the rest of the year in a salary dump for like a month that's left. There's no way they're going to keep Shohei Ohtani. Like, no way they're going to keep him.
Well, there's no way
especially after
Otani's going to stay there. You're right.
Well,
They should have traded him at the deadline.
They should have traded
Yes.
him at the deadline, and they have to know after doing this that they're not going to keep him, and that's why they're doing it. But to do what? To save a couple $1 million for the rest of the season? Like, what is their plan moving forward? They're going to lose their best player. They've lost their prospects in an effort to try to keep their player. They're going to give Trout nothing again, who everybody told us was the best player in the history of the world until Shohei Ohtani came. So they had back-to-back best players in the history of the world, and they can't even have a winning record. Like, you're talking about the Marlins and how like disappointing they are. There's no expectations for the Marlins compared to the Angels. They can't even make the playoffs. They can't even have a winning season. What are they doing? Like, who are these general managers that they keep bringing in that don't know how to do anything with this team and with this roster? I don't understand it.
Really caring about sports, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't even care about them. I just
About a
don't
team in
understand.
Anaheim.
I've never watched them play. They're on at 11 o'clock at night, but what are they doing?
They're in Los Angeles at Anaheim.
2 words. Dookie bomb.
Yes, Dookie Bomb. Let's go. Dookie Bomb.
There's still 12 seconds left.
It has been a national story and an international story, Stugotz. Lionel Messi changing what soccer feels like in Miami. And I don't know if it's happened in America yet, but I don't know how it could have gotten a whole lot better than it's gone so far for Miami. You have to understand, this has been a disaster franchise, a whole lot of obstacles. David Beckham, for years, was trying to get something off of the ground here. They couldn't get land. They couldn't get ownership or that was consistent, or the idea of a future to make locally, internationally, a market that has had soccer since the Fort Lauderdale Strikers in the 80s when Pele was playing back there with the Cosmos. This has wanted to be a soccer market for a long time. It is more international than almost any place in America. It is like the Caribbean, it's adjacent to the United States, but Miami is Latin America in a lot of ways, built by Latin America, a gateway through America. It's not quite America, and it's not quite Latin America. It's between the two. And soccer and baseball, we were told again and again, you put those in that market, it can't fail. There are so many Latin people there. And of course, if you put the best player ever at the height of his powers and he scores goals in every game, you have a legitimate phenomenon. They have wallpapered the city with his image. Everywhere I go, people are wearing those pink Messi jerseys. I can't imagine how much money that is making, because everywhere I go, there's somebody wearing one of those jerseys. I told you earlier this week, $200 million in revenue this year. That's crazy in that sport.
Nuts.
This was a nowhere franchise. And now, in the most expensive real estate market in the United States, even though insurance companies are about to leave here, more of them, because we've got the most expensive land, but we are not going to be able to insure it very soon because of what these hurricanes and climate change are going to do to Florida. In the middle of all this, the greatest soccer player ever comes over here, scores goals right and left, and now they're going to get their stadium, allegedly. But I don't think that in all of this enthusiasm, because he's playing in Fort Lauderdale, Stugotz, he's playing by like a 7-Eleven in a swamp somewhere that has had...
That's how we do it.
No, but I mean, it's crazy. Like, soccer's been there before, but it makes no sense that the greatest player in the world is playing at a campground. But it doesn't make any, and LeBron and Serena and everybody's coming in, and he's the hottest ticket, and you go over there and he's near a strip mall. I mean, it's absurd. It's not the height of professionalism. And yet, because he has come here and done this, they are now going to get a parcel of land that is going to make this a monster franchise. Like a monster. I thought this thing was going to cave. Every soccer team that comes down here fails. This one with Beckham was on the precipice of it. What will it take to fix it? Only the greatest player in the world. And the greatest player ever.
At the age of 37 or 38. It's amazing to have those massive expectations, Dan, and to be able to exceed them. I'm serious. Like, I don't love soccer, but Messi came in with enormous expectations and has somehow exceeded all the expectations we had for Messi when he joined this team. I don't know if anyone cares in any other state, in any other market. I'm certain some people do. I'm also certain most people don't. But down here, it's been fantastic. And I only care about the effects of it down here.
But here's another thing.
And if it lands them a stadium, then God bless them. That's why Beckham brought him here.
No, it has landed them a stadium, and they're going to build it, and it's an enormous and very valuable piece of land that makes the franchise matter right away if the land isn't swallowed by ocean. And if planes don't crash, because it shouldn't be there. Where they're putting it, those lights shouldn't be there.
I mean, they're literally next to an airport right now in Fort Lauderdale. I think that'll be fine. Yeah, allegedly, you keep talking about this.
It's a hot take that you don't think planes are going to crash into the stadium.
The lights shouldn't be there, Billy.
Yeah. Mike's confidence in I think they're going to be fine is great, because they did have to get it cleared with the FAA, as well as the building being put up right next to ours, which is going to be the tallest building in Miami, and it's like over 1,000 feet tall, and it's in the direct pathway of the northwesternly approach into Miami-Dade International Airport.
The part, though, that I wanted to talk about as it relates to all of this, Stugotz, because it is a funny sports story for our times, just all of it, everything I just mentioned. Messi's going to save everything in Miami, and it's been crazy to watch. But what's happening there when I'm watching it, and I keep seeing him scoring, and I see this, the interaction with the teammates, Stugotz, because this is a joyous time in his career. As he runs around the field, what I'm thinking to myself is, he realizes in the middle of this particular insanity, holy shit, I'm not just winning here. I'm winning at everything. Listen to the cash registers. And he looks like he's having joy playing in what is a league that is well beneath his talents.
It also seems like he's thinking, hey, the guys I play against in this league, they suck.
He's got joy because he's winning in every single way. This wins for Apple. This wins for Adidas. This wins for his partnerships. God, how can he win more than he just already won at the World Cup?
I've missed you over the last few weeks because while you were gone, it was the height of Messi excelling and winning the club's first trophy and then getting to a final on another trophy. Stugotz threw out, I don't know how many people outside of this market care. Most streamed game on Paramount Plus was a U.S. Open Cup semifinal between FC Cincinnati and Inter Miami, and he's setting records left and right with viewership. Apple has far surpassed what their internal hopes for and projections were with subs. And keep in mind, they've got an international subscription model, which means someone in Argentina can just subscribe to MLS Season Pass, and that counts. And Messi gets a cut of all that. It's been beautiful to watch because you mentioned that it couldn't have gotten off to a better start, and that's not just the success. These games have been wildly entertaining. They have been great. And yeah, is MLS beneath him? Clearly, he's strolled in and dominated. But he dominated everywhere. He's Lionel Messi. He's the greatest of all time. He dominated at the World Cup.
I know, but he is doing things on a soccer field I've never seen him do before.
You don't watch soccer.
No, I've watched. No. You don't get.
Come on.
You've never seen him do it before because you've never watched him before.
Give and goes are a regular thing in soccer suddenly?
Yes.
Oh, get out of here.
He played at Barca.
He converts at 100% clips. It's unbelievable.
He played with
Look at
Xavi
this.
and
Look at
Iniesta.
this. Look at this clip. Here's the pass. Look at all the room he has. There's no way he gets that when he's playing in the World Cup. It's why he's never won it. He won it once.
Stugotz.
And he won that balloon thing.
He's never won it. He's won it once. The most recent one.
Caught myself quickly at the end there. Thank you.
I love this team goal that they're showing.
Stugotz, go sit in the penalty box.
For what?
For saying Lionel Messi has never had a give and go.
No. I said give and goes. I'll take the red card, Mike.
Just get out of here.
I said give and goes don't happen this easily in
no,
international
Stugotz,
soccer.
I'll tell you why.
I've watched.
Stugotz, look. What I'm not going to let you do is come to the Lionel Messi party and your only take being your take from 20 years of soccer's dead, I don't care, soccer sucks, 1 goal a game, soccer sucks, and this is an exciting thing in Miami, and you're now pretending that you care when you're not watching anything and you're just saying he's playing the best soccer of his career when this is his entire career against everybody. Because he's the best we've ever seen. The part of this story that I love the most as someone who cares about this region is, do you understand in the history of sports in this market how rare it is for all the different cultures to care about the team that is winning? For all of these people in this community who live together, who are wearing the jerseys all over the place, for all of them to come together on one thing. I know they say sports unite, not Miami.
Yeah.
Okay, the Panthers are winning the championship where they were winning it, and the Heat and the Dolphins come in the middle somewhere between all the cultures.
If you are taking social media metrics, conversation, marketing, eyes, you can make a case right now that Inter Miami is the most important soccer franchise in North, Central, and South America right now. No insult to Boca Juniors and River Plate and some of the big clubs down in Brazil. In terms of social media metrics, right now, this is the club that's being talked about the most. And we just touched on the stadium, and the stadium is my favorite part about this story because I was at the airport 2 days ago, and as I was leaving the airport, I passed by Freedom Park. And it's overgrown. It's Mel Rees. It's an unkept golf course, and it looks a little scary, kind of like how Lockhart Stadium did before they did the construction. And I got an alert shortly thereafter that said, from Inter Miami, construction has begun on Freedom Park. You want to take a guess when that stadium is going to be ready?
Well, this is where I was headed with all the things happening in Miami.
Way too soon is
Well, this is. Wait a minute, but I don't think Messi knows or Apple or anyone knows this part is coming. You cannot trust Miami contractors with what's coming next of this career. Are you shitting me? You cannot build a stadium there by 2025.
2025.
You cannot. That's not possible.
We're almost done with 2023.
No way.
And the place that said it was that construction began, in which I drove past, and I didn't see a single crane, nary a shovel. I didn't see a single thing that would.
I'm not going in it. I don't trust it.
In fairness, DRV PNK Stadium was ready in 8 minutes.
Yeah, but that was all prefab construction, and I think the days of openly questioning Jorge Mas should maybe have I wouldn't doubt him right now.
Okay, look, no, wait a minute. Look, Messi doesn't buy you that much.
It seems beyond belief.
Guys, there's like a literal cement archway that's been dangling over whatever street that is, U.S. Route 1, for
this game.
3 years. There's just dangling concrete archway. That was supposed to be open last year, and then overnight the city was like, psych.
There is one causeway that will get you to Miami Beach. They have to fix 11 of the bridges there because, sea change and stuff. They're saying it's going to be soon. It is not going to be soon. They said initially it was going to be soon, and then it became 11 years later. No chance that stadium gets built.
I would say
no chance that stadium gets built by Miami contractors by a time that Messi can play in it.
Mas, he does have a construction background, but I would say, without hyperbole, finishing this stadium in time for the 2025 season is way more difficult and impossible than getting Lionel Messi.
That's true.
Yeah, and I think they're playing fast and loose with 2025. It could be ready for the 2025 season. They can totally backload that schedule.
Mike, if it is ready for the 2025 season, you can't put people in it. It's going to be made of paper mache. You can't trust the construction on that. We had a building fall here. Our land is being eroded by sea.
That land is actually toxic, too. It's built on toxic land.
And there's that. We're going to poison Messi. And then the walls are going to fall on him. And